Doomcast, number 80. My name's Charlie McGrath. My co-founder and friend is Doug Owen. He's in Austin, Texas. I'm in Bozeman, Montana. It's the first day of March 2015. Technically, my son's birth. Well, let's see. He's a leaper. He was born on the 29th of February, so I guess yesterday was his birthday. We celebrated it yesterday.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. 15. My boy's 15. He's a young man now.
Really? He's 15? I thought he was older than that.
Anyway. He thinks he is, but he's 15.
All right.
Yes, son. Happy birthday. It is a miracle you made it to this age.
Yeah, Charlie didn't kill you. Good job, Charlie.
And I pray that you make it to the next birthday.
Yeah, he probably will. Good chance.
He probably will. He's a good kid. We bump heads once in a while, but he's got the same stubborn streak in him that I do, which is it's very interesting, Doug Owen, because you got a wee nipper that just had a birthday as well. Happy birthday to wee nipper.
Yes.
And as and I'm just going to talk dad stuff for 45 seconds. So if anybody is getting upset, because there's I'm sure a lot of people that don't have kids, but you know what? Everybody that does have kids, they'll get it. They understand. They know it.
Sooner or later, you'll think about kids.
What's that?
I said sooner or later, no matter who you are, you'll think about kids. So,
did you find that, like, when you and Doomatha would go out before you had the wee nipper Doom?
The wee nipper. What the hell is a wee nipper? I like that.
A wee nipper. Yeah. Before you had the wee nipper and you guys were going out on the town, restaurant, whatever, airplane, theater, and there was a banshee, also known as an infant, that was there ruining the experience for you. Did you find yourself understanding, annoyed, or indifferent?
What, to the child driving you nuts when you go and eat places and go out? Or
yeah, technically, yeah, the child, but I mean, really, you would end up being annoyed at the parent for not bringing the kid into public.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's they can only do so much. I mean, I guess you have more empathy after you have a kid, because you realize that. But you also have to realize when your kid's going to melt down, and you have to kind of be on top of that. If you're a good parent, you realize when you can't take your kid out, and that's what I've done. I don't know, about 6-7 months into it, starts really becoming aware. That's when your child's really going to start taking things and destroying them and throwing things on the floor. And this guy's going to be a quarterback. He can chunk his pacifier 15 feet. I've got videos of him. He throws the ball already a good 12 feet, like a tennis ball.
That's crazy.
To the dog. Yeah, he just turned 1. So I'm pretty proud of that. But
I don't blame you. I think you get out, throw me right now.
Maybe. But so I don't take. We don't go out very much anymore. That's just one of the things. So
well, that's what responsible new parents do, is they don't go out because we
can do it separately though. So she'll go out with her sister, go shopping, go hit up some lunch, do some stuff like that. It's harder for us. And then I guess we're lucky because my sister-in-law lives close, and we can drop him off every once in a while if we want to go out and do that. Right. But
you're leaving the wee nipper at home or with aunt or something.
Right. But not everybody has that luxury. And I mean, it can be. That's why I think for a lot of people, like in their 20s, it's a huge lifestyle change. Whereas when you get a little bit older, it's not such a big deal. It's because you're not giving up nearly as much as you would be, because you're already kind of tired of some of the stuff, going out every night and getting drunk, things like that, just have lost the appeal that they had when you're...
Well, and things that used to be fun that you would do solo or with the missus, 20s or 30s or whatever, if you try to do them with the baby, even up to... let's say up to school age, 5 years old, everything becomes exponentially more difficult.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter what it is. Just the sheer fact that you're packing around 20 pounds of gear to manage a 20-pound baby, that alone makes things more difficult.
It's hard to be a prepper. Baby preppers they have to do double the work out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
washable diapers. That's into
yeah.
So anyway, my quick point was
expensive stuff right there. Washable diapers.
Yeah, my quick point was that parents, especially.
Are you bummed out about being a parent, or you're hearkening back to the Paul Reiser in you?
I'm hearkening back because I hear your stories, and because you have the wee nipper, and I had a wee nipper, but my wee nipper is a young man now, and I long for the wee nipper days. But then again, there's certain things that I don't long for again, that I don't miss, like open all the creamer in a restaurant and flinging it like a chimp flinging poo,
right,
or things like that, and
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I don't miss those days. I do miss
like right before the show. He grabbed the dog bowl, flipped it over, and we all had to change clothes and change the diaper because it's now soaked, and that takes you about 15 minutes. And then as soon as you put him down on the table to change him, he's becomes just unconsolable, and you have to give him a toy to kind of distract him long enough to get his diaper on, and then you realize you've got to get those damn snaps at the end of it.
Oh, the snaps!
So you can get everything going except those damn snaps, and that by that time they're already pulling away from you, screaming. So
yeah, and you're
so you don't miss that part, I guess, huh?
I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I do miss when you see little. Parents
but you can hold them, and they love on you, and they sleep on your pillow, and you look over, and they're rubbing your head and stuff like that. At least he does, because I don't have a lot of hair up there, and so it probably feels pretty cool. And he's like, "Oh yeah, Dad, that's neat."
I told my son no more than a month ago.
He had to stop sleeping in the bed.
Yes, he had to stop. He was growing out of that.
You have to go to your own room, son. It's kind of weird.
It's time for you to let the diapers go. No, I told him. I don't even remember what the occasion was. We were talking about when he was little, and I told him for the first. He started living with me full time. I had custody of him from 2 years and 11 months. Then after that point, he was with me full time, and every single night up until probably third grade, maybe. Definitely first, second grade. He would fall asleep he would lay on my chest and fall asleep. And every single night I would have to, carry him to his bed. And I did that. I did that for years, and it just became such the norm. I think what I said to him is he said something on the couch and said, carry me to my room. He's joking around, and he's 160 pounds now. I can't do that. But I do miss the little bonding things that we did when he was a little fella. But I go take a trip like I just did to New Orleans, or wherever I'm going to, and I see the living hell that new parents are going through in some cases. And in some cases, they don't have a choice, right? If you got to go visit your aunt in Duluth, you got to get on a plane. So I
won't do it. Yeah, I mean, there's things that we won't do. We forego. My sister hasn't seen him yet, and it's been over a year, and I just refuse to fly to Seattle with him. She lives in Seattle, so. We're just not going to put a baby on the plane. It's just not. It's not going to happen, and for a variety of reasons. Mostly because if any TSA agent ever said that they had to stick their finger down my kid's diaper or something like that, then we're all going to go to jail. It's not going to happen. You're going to see me on TV.
Oh my God!
I think about that stuff. And it's like, oh no, I don't want to be that guy. So
I was going to say that would make for you could do the cast from a jail cell and. You'd be vindicated eventually.
It'd be very expensive. It'd be like $5.95 a minute.
Nah, man, I'm gonna send you in a Samsung baked in a cake. We'll just Skype it off of there.
You can get put in solitary confinement for life.
For lying?
For life. For there was a guy that got
I saw that
the phone. Yeah, it was 20. I forget what it was, but it was something ridiculously disproportional to the infraction.
Yeah,
by using a phone. And it's probably because they just don't want the competition to their own private corporations that make money, millions of dollars off of the phones.
Well, the prison industry in general, that we could do a whole program on that. I did a little bit of research on the state of Colorado and their prison industry. And, every state's the same, but Colorado is, there's billions of dollars being made. And so that's why we need such a massive free labor force. And that's why you see most of the people who are in jail are nonviolent offenders. In most cases, there's not even a victim to the crime. You know what I mean? They're busted with an ounce of whatever and third strike or mandatory minimum type things, and voila, you have yourself some labor to make furniture, so the prison can bid on state jobs and make some fat bank. But I digress, because I would say quickly.
I just want to comment real quickly. This week I talked to this guy, a former police officer from South Carolina named Rayford Davis from.
Oh my God, no, it wasn't. Is that his name?
That's his name, man. Yeah,
it sounds like so Dukes of Hazzard-y.
It is a little Dukes of Hazzard-y, actually. But anyway,
okay, go ahead.
Nice
Rayford.
guy. Yeah, nice guy from law enforcement against prohibition, and I touched on some of those topics and kind of discussed the prison industry and some of the ins and outs of it, especially since interestingly enough, I saw this article and it really hit home for me, and I mentioned it on the podcast, and producer Craig and I were talking about this because he listened to the show, and he didn't know that in California they're trying to stop letting nonviolent prisoners out of the jails because the Supreme Court has ruled that they're overfilled, and it's illegal for them to keep these people in prison in these conditions. So they're trying their best to keep them because they're paying them $3 a day, many of these prisoners, to work, or at least the non-violent trustworthy prisoners, the ones that that should probably go back into society, that have proven that they should not be caged, but they're paying them $3 a day to fight wildfires. And so they're saying, well, we're going to have this huge $40 million budget, or it might be, who knows? I said $40 million. It seems light now, just because of inflation. But I think it was a $40 million shortfall for budgeting to be able to fight the wildfires because they're using prison labor. And that's just one microcosmic example of how you have this industry that comes out of the slave labor and cheap. The BP oil spill is a perfect example of using prison labor. These guys signed gag orders and waivers, health waivers, to work for, I think it was like $10 a day in Louisiana and all along the Gulf Coast during the BP oil spill, and they're burying sea turtles and cleaning up tar off of the beaches, trying to make it seem like everything's okay and everything's clean and blah blah blah. So you don't realize how much of an industry there is there just for emergency response. A lot of the people that they always talk about being the first responders end up being prisoners.
You're talking like wildfire type of situation.
Wildfires, oil spills. Reaction forces. When private companies like BP or just
you're not going to call an ambulance and have a con show up at your house. You're talking first responders, like disaster.
Yeah, disaster.
You might have a con show up at your house.
You might. You might. They might steal your stuff. Especially if you're in Detroit, there's a good chance that you might get mugged in the ambulance.
Got to pay for that ride somehow.
So, yeah, if you're not mugged in the ambulance, you'll be mugged by the hospital afterwards. So, Charlie, I got to ask you, do you have an AR-15?
Yes.
So, I guess you've heard that Obama is coming after your AR-15 stealth gun control.
Yes, I did see that.
I got this is an email alert. Obama's ATF has unilaterally banned one of the most common forms of AR-15 ammo. The truth is, this is the federal government's backdoor strategy to come after your guns. So everybody's been. I saw a bunch of hyperbolic articles, and I read the actual article or the actual executive order that Obama issued that I think is egregious and wrong and unconstitutional, and he's ruling by decree and de facto and not using Congress, and that is unacceptable. So not to support any of it, but have you noticed that? That they're saying that there's just no ammo. You're not going to be able to use your AR-15. And so you start reading into it, and it's like, well, it's the green tip stuff. And it's, I guess, somewhat armor piercing, which I don't think it really is. But producer Craig, who is our gun and ammo aficionado, weighed in on it because I asked him, I said, I don't have an AR-15. I know that Charlie does because I've heard you mention it. I think you and your son have actually shot
ammo, too.
So you have green tipped ammo. He says it's crap. Yes. He says that the ammo is actually, it flies funny since the bullet isn't really balanced. says he doesn't think there's enough copper around the steel, and it can get damaged, or it can damage the barrel of the AR. So he even says that ARs are kind of pussy rifles. So I don't know what to really.
Producer Craig's an AK guy. You need to know that right away.
Okay.
He would drop his AR in the mud and keep walking with his AK. So him and I both have been trained.
7.62 by 39.
That's the AK.
Yes.
5.56 is the AR. But
so is this a popular? Is this really a popular bullet? Do you see a lot of these? Is this really a big deal or not a big deal? Is it?
No, it isn't a big deal. I shouldn't say that. It's usually typically. I got a box of it like a room away. I should go grab it and read you the specs on it. I bought them because they were on sale, and your typical 223 round is a 55 grain bullet. That's the weight of it. If you go to your sporting goods store in Texas or in Montana and you're looking for 5.56 in bulk, you're probably going to find this 55 grain, full metal jacket bullet. And the green tip is, I don't know if it's a recycled, reconditioned, mil spec. I'm not sure except that I know it weighs more. It's a heavier bullet than the 55 grain. And I bought it because it was on sale when I had the Chinamen coming over to visit America. Every time they come over here, they want to go shooting. So and when they shoot, it's ridiculous. They'll shoot 2,000 rounds in
just
inside
feels
of
good.
an hour
They just can't do it there. They don't.
Can't do it there. Yeah, they can't unless they're in the military. They can't go shoot.
Yeah, my brother-in-law. That was the one thing. He's from Seattle, and I imagine you could shoot there. Obviously, Craig lives there, but anyway, when he came down here, he's like, "Hey, man, let's shoot some guns." I guess you'd have to go somewhere. He didn't. He's a city dweller, so first thing a lot of people want to do when they come here is shoot guns. Can we go shoot some guns, man? Sure. Let's go. You know what?
That is weird. Craig's in Seattle, so I'm sure you're right. They have ranges there, but if he wants to go into public land, and shoot, I don't know how far Craig has to go to do that, but I would imagine that, he's driving to Snoqualmie Pass before he can get into Forest Service type land where you
don't give away his location now. Come on.
Well, it's a generalized. You already said Seattle. That's closer than Snoqualmie.
Okay.
So I don't know. What was the purpose for banning the green tip?
I don't know. Well, they said that it can pierce that really flimsy, cheap police ATF bulletproof vests that they have that are somewhat bulletproof, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because a 7.62 by 39, with an AK or SKS rifle or anything shooting that caliber, bullet or a 30-06 or something else like that. My M1 Garand. Now, it costs you $2 to shoot it each time you pull the trigger, but, that thing is probably the most dangerous weapon that has the most blood attached to it. And, you get your option of the bayonet or the clip on that, which you can modify, which I didn't because I like them. And the top loading doesn't bother me a bit. But all of those, are much more deadly and dangerous or lethal and would tear through that stuff. So I think maybe the concern is that, by going after the green tipped ammo, it just kind of, it becomes a slippery slope. And before you know it, you won't be able to buy other popular calibers.
Well, I'm reading this here.
I just don't know if it's any more or less dangerous or lethal bullet. Does it have a better penetration than other ones that don't have green tips? That's what isn't clear to me. But then again, when it comes to gun control and the assault rifle ban and other moves by the State Department, ATF to regulate guns, it's always going after things that look like they're military style. They're going after, but not even really, when you look at it, it just shows you how little it has to do with being efficient or effective. And it's really just kind of, picking at, it's different things that I think they can get away with and maybe not get too much opposition to. So anyway, there's a comment period and you can voice your concerns, probably put you on a list, but you can do that and let them know. I think March 6th is the deadline for you to make your comments known. But anyway.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have green tip ammo. It's a hevier bullet.
Okay, Craig is coming in with it's a NATO round, so it's humane to shoot people through the body armor with 1.5 hours. Let's see. It has a steel center, about half the lead replaced. It penetrates a little better, but it's kind of considered junk. So maybe they just go after that stuff because it's one more thing that they can do to kind of control, and they know that there's not going to be that much resistance because it's not that popular. So you go after guns that I think that's why a lot of people are offended, and that's because the AR-15 is probably the most popular, and I hate to even use the term, but military style rifle. It's not an assault rifle. I guess any rifle, you're going to assault something with it, whether it's a tin can or an animal. It does have an assaulting intention, but these things are so politicized, and there's a lot of misnomers and a lot of misinformation about it. Oh, they're banning the AR-15 all ammo. You won't be able to shoot your AR-15 ever again. If you bought an AR-15, it's virtually worthless. And you start digging into it, it's like, well, that's not true. And I understand why people try. They want to bring awareness to something, so they go hyperbolic. But that's why I wanted to ask you and Craig about it, because it seems like I'm just wading through bullshit, trying to figure out what the hell's going on with this.
I don't even know I saw Craig's message in there. I don't even know if I buy the steel core, Craig. I thought it was just a heavier bullet, still a full metal jacket, no different than any 223 round you buy, which is a 55 grain usually bullet with a full metal jacket. The greater penetration I might be able to conceive of because it's 10 grains heavier. But it is. I don't know if it's much to do about nothing, but it's certainly a step towards removing ammunition that you can buy today for your AR-15 that you won't be able to buy tomorrow. For the obvious thing that comes to mind is all the people out there like you that have M1s or 30-06s or 308s or whatever. I mean, I can go get a 308 caliber AR-15, with that on that platform. So I can get an AR-15 style gun that has a 30 round, 20 round magazine that shoots 7.62 or 308 round that will penetrate any body armor virtually. So the notion that we're going to be saved from the green tips because they're out there killing cops with them, it's bullcrap is what it is. It's just another step towards, I think it's just another way to have a precedent set for the necessity to be able to pull ammunition. So it doesn't matter if it says green tip or whatever, as long as that, because of public safety concerns or concerns for law enforcement, they were able to use an executive order to remove ammunition. It just makes it that much more convenient when the next executive order comes down the line. Hey, we got to remove whatever. We have to remove 30 round mags. We have to remove the whole platform altogether. We have to remove 7.62 by 39 hollow point, whatever. I think, we are a nation of precedent law and, the slow immersion into the boiling pot type of a deal, which I see this more as than an attack on or devastating to AR-15 owners. So,
well, to just speak to that for a moment, I don't know if you saw the article about FedEx refusing to ship the bot that it carves metal and you can make untraceable, quote unquote, printable 3D ghost guns. And FedEx said, look, we don't know if these things are legal really, and we're just not going to do it. We're not going to send these, we're not going to ship them to people, and you can buy them online. Of course, this is part of the, trying to think of his name now. The guy,
the MakerBot guy,
not the MakerBot guy, but the guy here in Austin that had he's behind, I guess, the proliferation of 3D gun. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
he's a hype guy, and he has a new Bitcoin wallet and other things that he gets into. But anyway, he kind of spurred, I think, this conversation about not only just being able to buy guns, but recently we had a demonstration in front of the Capitol where guys were printing 3D guns without serial numbers. A great awareness campaign. I think if you want to wake up politicians to the fact that they need to make more laws, then it's probably, good, but putting stuff on the radar can or cannot in certain circumstances, or does or doesn't do the cause much good. So this goes back and everybody's like, oh, see, look, FedEx is this is their attempt to go after the Second Amendment rights. Let's boycott. But when you look at so I started looking at what happened to FedEx. You know that the government's charging them with drug distribution because there have been companies that are selling illegal or unlicensed, unregulated drugs on the internet, and they're going to go after that. Well, we can talk about net neutrality too, but so it's not FedEx that is selling the drugs. They just happen to be shipping them. They're a private company.
The mule.
Yeah, they're the mule, but not even really willfully or knowingly being a mule in most cases. And if you think about it, it's not really their responsibility in my mind to know what the hell people are shipping. It's their job to ship things from one destination to another without throwing them over the fence, like we saw in that video over Christmas with the FedEx drivers just chunking TVs and such. So
I disagree with you there. I disagree with you there. If they're making a profit by taking a package from somebody to deliver it, I think there's some onerous on them to
let's say
know what they're delivering.
Well, you send me a letter. Is it their job to open up that letter and look at it and read it? Or is it the government? If the government wants to know, I mean, I don't think that that's their job at all.
No, that ain't their job at all. No, I'm not talking about intellectual content. I'm talking about.
Okay, let's say you send me a candle. Is it their job to break it in half and make sure that there's no heroin in the middle of it, or is it their?
No.
Should they have to hire drug dogs to look and sniff packages? Do they have to do this to a certain, at what extent, at what burden do we put on companies trying to do business? I mean, I would.
I don't think there's a need for any more burden to put on companies. But if you, for instance, if I'm sending something to Canada right now, or they are to us, the amount of paperwork. The amount of customs forms that you fill out is the exact same thing as if you were driving a semi across the border. They want to know what's coming in.
But that's the government. That's not a private company that's working for profit.
Well, FedEx would have to have FedEx would not deliver it, or UPS. They have to have that paperwork. They have to have a customs form. You're right. It's government mandated, but it's still generated by the shipper and the receiver in some cases. But I guess my point is this, Doug. If FedEx is making their money, with more power to them, by delivering packages, then I think that there has to be some level of security there that should be private. It should be, they should be handling it on their own. That ensures that that the Mexican cartels aren't shipping.
This is the problem, though. Now they have to start making these decisions. Now they have to decide whether or not they want to ship products from Defense Distributed, his company's Defense Distributed, and these are actually things that you can buy. I've seen those metal makers that anybody can buy this, but they're actually making these decisions because the government said, look, you can't ship these, and they're like, oh, we don't know. So you get to this point where even if something's legal, even if something's absolutely okay for you to do, and there's no restrictions by the color of law, and because there's this intimidation against private companies like FedEx, and conversely, they're not going after the USPS. So
I was just going to say that if FedEx is a number 9 on the scale of screw ups as far as shipping things that are illegal, then our own government or the U.S. Postal Service has to be a 10 plus, because there is every day you can read cases of illegal drugs going through the U.S. Postal Service, weapons going through. That I would bet is the most abused channel of transport on the planet. So I think that from FedEx it might be a cop out, because they ship guns. I can ship a gun through FedEx to wherever I want, as long as it's declared and there's a FFA that it's landing at. So, if for them not to
would
say,
they ship you, some kind of, I don't know, like a bullet, create the bullet press or something like that? I mean,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
But would they send you a little receiver with no serial number on it? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And it's an interesting debate. I don't think it's really FedEx's. It shouldn't be on them to figure out and to enforce laws, and they shouldn't have to.
I agree with you.
It should be very clear.
I'm backpedaling a little bit just because I said that they have to take some responsibility for what they're shipping. But on this instance, where it's a 3D printer or the gadgets that were made in a 3D printer, that they're not going to ship it because it may potentially be the printer might be used to make a gun. And let's be real for a minute here, okay? There's no gun being made on a 3D printer. I shouldn't say that outright because there's those instances of the single shot little 22s that have been made. But you talk about receiver, I'm thinking like the ones we've seen. Craig sent us images of, and you can get them. Just go on the internet and look at 3D printer AR-15 receiver, and you can find it. But that's the receiver. That's just the receiver. When you're talking about the bolt and especially the barrel and the gas operating system, and we're not there yet. We're not making assault weapons on 3D printers, and I don't know how much further down the road that is. But the things that you can do with your 3D printer are a far cry from making an actual viable weapon. Yes, you might be able to make something that looks like a toy, and you can put a 22 round in and make it fire. But that certainly, isn't anywhere on the level of a true home defense weapon or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the AR-15 platform. I've seen it in the videos that they put out there.
I've seen the AR-15 platform. I've seen the receivers made on 3D printers.
I don't know if you can get one of those or if they just have that one. Yeah, like you mentioned, a 22. That it's basically a zip gun. You could make that out of electrical conduit or something. Yeah. Right.
Exactly right. I mean, you can make that out of whatever. All you need to do is have a tube. That's it. That a bullet will fit in, and then a way to strike the primer, and you got a gun.
You got a gun.
You got a gun.
Not much of one, but a gun nonetheless. So, what do you want to talk about? Celebrity news. I know you're upset because Al Sharpton's going away. MSNBC gone. The teleprompter fails. You know what? I don't have that queued up on this phone. Let's see. Well, I could play in celebration.
I could talk about the federal government.
Yeah,
I could talk about the federal government finding it necessary to buy a booth. I sent you guys that picture, didn't I, from New Orleans?
Oh yes.
We must, and we will much about that be committed.
Yeah. So that hasn't been turned. They haven't been losing money since Keith Olbermann left. And you know what's funny? He's suspended right now by ESPN. It's a really popular thing to do. They just suspend everybody. They create controversy and they suspend them, and they create controversy. I think it's quite a racket. But
why did they suspend Olbermann?
He said something nasty about somebody. I forget what it was. It was it was just crap. Making some comment, but
you mean they MSNBC suspended him, right?
No, he's on ESPN. And no, MSNBC has sucked and hasn't had good ratings since he was there. Since they relieved him and they put on Al Sharpton, who can't read the teleprompter very well.
Right. Well, I didn't think Olbermann was still on ESPN. I thought he was done being a sports guy and just doing quote serious news.
No. Oh, yeah, he went to that Al Gore project for a hot minute. I remember that. The one with the Young Turks. What's that media station? Yeah, Keith. I should just go ahead and look this up.
Him and Dan Patrick were a fixture at ESPN. I mean, I think they were one of the originals there. And but I think he always had a desire to feel legitimate in the world of media. So he was going to do more serious stuff. But I didn't know he was back. I guess it shows how much I watch ESPN.
Yeah, Penn State. He said something about it. Keith Olbermann suspended for a week over Penn State tweets. Let's see. Olbermann, who has been critical of Penn State in the past, responded by finishing the phrase "pitiful." Oh, so he was talking about pitiful. Very
punny.
Very punny. Oh, he said, what makes us pitiful? The fact that we are smart college students raising money for a great cause. You are pitiful, sir. Another person tweeted. So anyway, yeah, a tweet-a-leet. That'll get you in trouble these days. That's why we have to do the things that we do the way that we do them. And we should, before we move forward, just thank a few people that brought us support this week for the show. Jeff and Subic sent in $50 via snail mail. You can do that if you go to doomcast.com/support. And we have a multitude of ways. Bitcoin. Want to use Bitcoin or get out of the controlled Federal Reserve System, you can do that. You can send us snail mail. You can send us gold coins, $100 bills wrapped in foil. We'll take them. He says, I'm a slow learner, but seeing the light started when I wrote my then Senator John McCain, to voice my disdain over the insane invasion of Iraq after 9/11. I really enjoy your thoughts. Hope you can keep it together. One comment, please, please, please don't join the tinfoil hat crowd like so many others. Among the many, Alex Jones comes to mind. Listening to your podcast on Ukraine now, America doesn't understand. Russia never did. And he said it's definitely interesting times for sure, so we want to thank him. Richard in Wauketa, Illinois, gave us $20. Thank you, sir.
Oh, my God, we're getting rich.
Yeah, $20 from Stancil. There he said, message, hell, Charlie, we could have gotten together in New Orleans and had a beer. Of course, you were probably busy and somewhat antisocial, and I am somewhat antisocial, so maybe the thought of it's better than the reality. Thanks, guys.
It would have been perfect. Doug, last week, I announced I was going to New Orleans, right?
You did. We talked about it in Allen's.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, if in the future, if I don't mention it, if you hear I'm going somewhere and you live in that somewhere, you should let me know. info@wideawakenews.com or contact Doug at doug@blacklistednews.com and let me know, because I will do my best to stop by and meet you.
Yeah, I might meet you at Cigar Fest in Las Vegas. Might go there this year. Might.
You are?
Might, yeah. I don't know.
I'll be down in Vegas this year, I think in early summer for another trade show.
Oh, yeah. So, let me thank the rest of the crew here. Kyle in Fort Worth, Texas, gave us $20. $10 contributor from Axel. So thank you, Axel. Monthly subscriptions that came in. We got one from Erica, a.k.a. Skybird. And a $5 monthly subscription from Stanley, who subscribed that way. It's a great way to just chunk us a little change. You know that even if you veer from the show, that you are continuing to support, and it's easy, quick. We do give recognition for it, and it's a great way to support this platform rather than commercial advertisers that buy your time. Other podcasts, other people, other newsletters take your information and your time and sell it to advertisers. Your interest, your awareness, your trust, and they give that to people that turn over and give them money. By supporting us and doing it the way that we do, we do this without commercial sponsors of any sort, of any shape, of any size. We don't waste your time because we know it's precious, and that's why we want to thank you for supporting us. So please continue to do so, and pretty good week. One of the best that we've had in 2015, so excited about that. And with that being said, let's talk about government roofs. That was kind of weird.
That was really weird. And thank you. I want to reiterate your thank you. So thanks to everybody that is contributing to keep this thing going. I know for a fact Doug has spent a bunch of money on his system. Not that it's 100% dedicated to Doomcast, but I think that was one of the driving factors that let you talk yourself into buying some new equipment. So thanks to everybody supporting that. All right. Last day I was in New Orleans all week. First of all, I missed my flight Monday because of a wee bit of ice in Atlanta, and the whole East shuts down. But it was a good show. New Orleans, not my favoriteest place on earth.
Why?
But I'm just not I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Deep South. I'm just not.
Hey, you know what? It's just what it is, man.
It is what it is. You know, from Beaumont, Texas, all the way around to Florida. Don't really care if I ever go there again, to be honest. You know, my sister lives in Alabama. So I've been in Alabama, I've been to Georgia, I've been to Louisiana. I guess I've never been to Mississippi, but I can't imagine that it's going to be a big upgrade from Louisiana. I don't know. It's too muggy. It's too humid. The food's too fried. Although I will say this, the food is incredible in New Orleans. But you forget about your diet or special, you're not going to get that. Yeah, for the most, here's the other thing, Doug. I do a lot of these type shows a year.
Right.
And typically they're in Vegas, Orlando, and occasionally New Orleans. Orlando sucks because I'm so far away from Orlando that it's 2 full days of travel there and back. And Vegas is awesome because I'm an hour and a half flight away. So it seems that I'm probably basing my opinion on geography more than I am anything else because, it's such a big commitment to go to the east and try to do a trade show. But roofing show last week. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I wouldn't expect you to unless you're in the business, but once a year, there's a show called the International Roofers Expo, IRE. And it is basically I like it. It just goes on. Is that ABBA?
No, it's the Never-Ending Story.
Oh, I see what you did. Yeah. I guess I'm done.
No. I'm just teasing you.
You just dropped a never-ending story on me. I was trying to give a backstory there. So whoever there was in Louisiana that could have met in New Orleans, I absolutely would have time. I would have had time to do it.
It was Stantle.
Yeah, Stantle. Next time I go down there, I'll let you know. I will be in.
Well, he said
Wisconsin.
he's antisocial, so he knew he could have reached out to you. He just decided not to.
Yeah.
And he might have been right. Maybe the thought of hanging out with you would be better than the real thing. I don't know yet. We haven't hung out in real life, but I'm pretty sure that it's probably just as good in real life as it would be here on the Doomcast.
I'm going to think about that for a minute. I don't know. I think I would. I think probably not. I'd be in work mode. It probably wouldn't be that great.
Yeah,
I'd be talking building.
You'd be talking about government roofs from this organization.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So
that's my never-ending story. I'm getting to here.
Okay,
let me work my way there. I work at my own pace.
No rush.
Let me learn at the speed that I can learn.
All right.
So anyway, show all week long. Blah blah blah. Last day of the program or show. I'm just wandering around, checking out some of the competition that's there and some of the new products that are coming out. And I stumble across a booth, a huge booth, actually, 20 by, I think they had a 20 by 20 or a 20 by 30 maybe. And that might not mean anything to anybody. I'll just tell you this.
They spend a lot of money. It's a big thing, right? It's a
huge thing. It's a huge thing. I mean, that booth would have been at least $10,000 at the very minimum.
Wow.
Probably closer to 20.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's just for the space that it was sitting in. So, and it had all the Department of Defense badge or whatever, crest, and then all the armed services crest.
We should put the picture on the podcast or with that.
Yeah,
we should.
Yeah,
there's nothing secret about it. I mean, obviously they want exposure. That's what they're paying for.
They literally paid for exposure, so I'm just going to help them out and put them on Doomcast. So
there you go. Yeah,
and
you're welcome, government. We do above and beyond.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact gist of what they were doing. I stood there for a minute.
Was it like a government? I thought it was like government sponsored FEMA roofs or something like that. Like if your roof gets ripped off during, I don't know, a tornado, that they would come and give you one of those ones that poisons you that has formaldehyde that leaks out of it.
Okay, and I think the idea was they were doing roofs for vets or something along those lines.
Oh, so roofs for vets.
Yeah. Well, roofs for vets or housing for vets or hire a vet or something to do
hire
with Department
a vet
of
roofer?
Defense.
Okay, yeah, the DoD is helping. Why didn't you grab a brochure and listen to the pitch?
I was going to listen to the pitch, but they didn't have any brochures to hand out. They like literally weren't selling a product. So it was a couple of big screen TVs and a lecture the guy was giving out, the government employee was giving out. and I just didn't have time to sit through the whole thing. So I find it unusual.
I mean,
that
maybe
at every
you could,
show I'm at.
I'm just wondering if you could sell a bunch of your stuff to the government. Look, you need government rated felt and get in on one of these crony deals. I'm just looking out for you.
Yeah, if you want to sleep with that guy, yeah, I suppose you can. But there's actually a website where you can go and see what the government is bidding on, and they got to give you a crack at bidding on it. I mean, I have friends in the industry that have made that they've done exactly what you've said. They've just followed government bids and planned their year around getting those bids because it's a lot easier money than having to deal with the general public. So. Yeah.
You can lose your ass in those deals too, but so watch yourself.
Not really. You really can't.
I was in a business that lost their ass with a bunch of government contracts. This is the thing that you have to understand about government contracts. By the time they award those contracts, things can change, and you could be getting into a whole different world of stuff by the time it comes to fruition. What had happened with us is that we were doing work at Fort Hood, installing fire alarm systems, and this company I worked for had 20 or so buildings and interlinking the fire stations that are on Fort Hood. Fort Hood is massive, but 9/11 happened, and it literally took 2.5 to 3 hours to get onto the base. And so, rather than being able to really profit off of any of these jobs, and they'd been bid, like I said, 5 years prior. And so inflation and some of the other things that the Corps
and you had no recourse to go back. I've never heard of that. Where you?
Well, you can try to back charge them, and you can, but the government doesn't work that way. They're just not, and there's nobody there to really, argue with. You're arguing with a wall. Whereas a private construction company, if you're contracted, and working under a general contractor or a construction company, then you can stop the job. You have a little recourse, a little power in it. Whereas on a government contract, there are the Corps of Engineers, and these are government servants, GS-15s or something like that, and they're by the book, and they don't care, and they don't even have any power to really veer or make executive decisions. So what happened with us? Just this kind of funny anecdote. I should give myself the never-ending story.
I was just going to say, if I had it, I'd play it.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'll give you the power. I'm going to give you the power. So anyway, they had spec'd all these parts, all of these audio and fire alarm parts for these jobs. They had intercom and overhead paging systems, and it was all spec'd Bogan, which is a company that's been making that stuff forever. And it's American made, and everything had to be 80% American made. Well, in the time that we had gotten the contract, they had moved all of their stuff to, I think it's in Taiwan. It's Taiwan where they make the products that they wanted. Right. And so the resolution, okay, to cut to the chase, was to Sharpie out anything that said made in Taiwan and pretend like it was just made in America, because they expect specific parts for you don't get to choose what kind of amplifier, what kind of microphone that you're going to use. They have all of that spec'd in this book. Right. Well, by the time you get around to it, half of that stuff's not made anymore, and so you're just constantly resubmitting things to say, okay, well, this is the equivalent. And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you in 5 weeks.
I've got a hard time believing that whoever is in your company responsible for doing those kind of bids, these kind of these big contract bids.
It's that you just have to keep sending RFIs, like request for information, and you have to keep submitting. So it's not that it's impossible. It's just that you end up putting so much manpower and time into doing the work that they should be doing to make these things compliant. Does that make sense?
Right. No, it doesn't, because
the burden's on you. When you've got the contract, the burden's on you to do that. And if you can't get the part that you
But have you ever, there is no such thing that I know of anyway. And I've seen my share of government contracts, local, state, and federal, that there isn't a specified time limit. I can't imagine that your company would bid something 5 years ago and honor that price. Or even the same product.
No, it's not that you don't honor the price. It's that you have to constantly resubmit and say, okay, well, look, this price isn't good anymore because we have to do this and this and this and this and this. Right. Well, then that's a whole political process. That's a whole deal that you have to go through.
The whole thing back out to bid.
It could, but you end up having to do submittals. And even if it's not that, then it's constantly fighting and trying to keep, because you can't do the job to their specifics. You just can't. It's not possible. So it's an unreasonable, unattainable goal of finding things and making everything. So it's really just kind of Band-Aid. I mean, if you've ever been on a big government project, it's really kind of like the F-35. It's not about whether it's better than the Warthog. It's about, you've got all these huge companies, money that's on the line. So you end up doing something that it just makes no sense, like sharping out everything that said made in Taiwan. Okay, it's not. It's
finally
not
just giving up.
You just okay, well, what? Yeah, and so everybody just kind of figures out where they settle. I mean, look at all those bases that were half built and prisons in Afghanistan. I mean, I could just get KBR, half building different bases in Iraq. You start realizing, well, there's a lot of government people that said, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay, fine. And they're like, okay, well, your water system is poisoning all of the troops, and we just didn't finish the job. You're like, well, we
charge a little more. We'll get it right next time.
Right? Yeah. Oh, shame on you.
And those are the kind of contracts that we should be talking about. The KBRs and the Halliburtons who
I've seen it. I've seen how it happens, because that's the exact same stuff that happens even to smaller contractors. Because not to diminish their criminal role in all of that, but you get to a point where there's a certain expectation for this money to be allotted to you and for you to build these things that just, but by the time you get to it, you can't do it. It's like abiding by the tax code, or like not being a criminal and not, somehow breaking the 2 million plus laws that are enacted every year. It's just impossible.
It goes the other way too on that. Not that this program is dedicated to government contracts, but I've got a friend that
it's definitely not under government contract, no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to say it without even giving any kind of hint. But anyway, long story, never-ending story short. He has so much money. It's a super fun grant.
Who?
And what?
Who has this?
I told you, I have a friend that I'm trying to describe the situation that he's in. Because it isn't just sometimes you're going to lose your butt on a government contract, or you're scrambling to get the right thing in there.
Right.
But in dealing with government, if you don't spend enough money, this super fund money that he's getting, he gets X amount of dollars. It's bid for several years at a time. And if he doesn't use it in year A, then he's only going to get that much in year B. So come the end of the fiscal year, pushing, into September, into October, he goes on a buying spree, and it's absolutely frivolous. It's absolutely unnecessary, but there's dollars that have to be spent, because if you don't spend them, you lose them. And more importantly, in his case, you lose that out of your budget the next year. So
just remember, those are the guys that they love to go after whenever it's time to find a criminal probe and throw some people under the bus. So all you frivolous spenders out there and all the people out there doing government contracts, it will be you. Because it was KBR, it was Halliburton, all of these other evil corporations that made lots and lots of money. But before you know it, it's that guy that had that government contract. They're not going to be looking at their buddies KBR
and Halliburton don't have limits. There's no limit. There's no bid amount to what they can charge per tray of food in Afghanistan. It's a no bid situation. Usually. They're just turning in a bill and getting paid.
Well, there's just nobody else out there that can do it. I mean, you can't do it. I can't do it. And the only way that you can do that is to be empowered by people and you're a lobbyist in government. It takes a Blackstone group or some kind of huge fund to be able to even engage in that stuff. So
yeah, the red tape and the paperwork and the nightmare that you go through with government. I agree with you. is a pain in the butt unless you're huge, and then you don't really worry about it. You just charge whatever you want to charge.
Yeah, but then every once in a while you throw somebody in the fire.
Way. Exactly. You take a peon who, he bought an extra Ford F-150 for his to go into his work fleet, and they deem it excessive and put him in prison.
Right. Yeah, you get stuck with a $500 hammer.
Exactly. But dealing with corporate entities that are huge are becoming more and more like dealing with government. I mean, I can't mention names or I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. But
you can talk generalities. You can talk about things.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say the size of this company, where they rank, because you'd be able to figure it out real quick.
I mean, Fortune 500, a big company.
Oh, yeah. They're huge.
Okay, Fortune 500. That's pretty vague. There's only 500 of them.
Well, yeah. It is a huge corporation that is dominant in the retail space, in the field of construction.
Home Depot, Lowe's,
something along those lines, but not them.
Okay.
But at the end of March, this month, I have to go out to their home office and do a presentation for some product. Me and 52 other vendors will all get 30 minutes each to give our pitch, to give our spiel, and they'll pick.
So
it's all the same
this
category.
When you start giving them lap dances and $500 bills and stuff like that. I mean, this is where
that's the way it used to be.
You put on your G-string and start swinging it around.
Yeah, pow chicka pow pow. No. That's the way it used to be. I mean, there's a lot of graft and bribes and whatever that used to happen, kind of like does in China to this very day. But no, this company they're very difficult to deal with, but they are legit. I mean, there's signs all over the place that say if you offer anything, you will be immediately asked to leave and the employee will be terminated. And I mean, they take it very seriously. But in doing business with them, and we have in the past. I've done business with them in the past, and when we decided we were going to try to do business with them, we became a vendor for them, which I've never seen paperwork like this before, unless it was government. It was 30 pages, and basically you are giving away every right you have as a businessman, from start to finish, including inspection of your facility and a guarantee that you'll have guards that are duly trained in safety. I mean, just it reads like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, and so, but what do you do? I mean, they're following mandates, or at least they're claiming that they're trying to keep up with and a step ahead of Homeland Security. So it's all in the guise of.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's not really the company; it's the government that's forcing you, just like FedEx, to start becoming, or your ISP to be your, Snoop. The ISP is now, or your, mail host, email host. Having to keep your email for indefinite amount of time. All of those things. Those are not spurred by the market or anything other than government wanting to.
Absolutely. So it's counterintuitive to business. I mean, it's not good for your business because you're spending money that.
Yeah. Would you hire a tax accountant if there were no taxes? Of course not. Obviously.
Right. So at my show, I did have a few conversations with some execs from some of the big roofing manufacturers in this country, and there's genuine fear out there as far as the economy for the rest of this year. Especially, they're all feeling the low price of oil. It's hit every one of these companies because that's the product is primarily made of asphalt. So and then the transportation, and I mean everything that they were making big bucks on a few years ago has gone down the drain. So it's going to be an interesting 2015 for the building season, Doug Owen.
Yeah, it's one of those things when crime's up, somebody ADT is making more money. When oil's down, somebody else is making more cash. Or when it's high, then everybody invests in it, and it becomes, it's always something that is going to be shifting the whole business cycle and the way that and right now a lot of that's Fed manipulation. So that's because
we're going to work, because we're trying to, price energy so low that Russia busts. So I agree with that.
Right.
That's what we're doing. But the trade-off isn't just a simple, hey, I got $1.95 gas. So the trade-off balanced out, the lower price of oil balanced out.
Well, I mean, it's good for commercial businesses that have drivers, not tractor trailers, but commercial businesses that have gasoline engines. It's good for them. It helps them put a little money in, in their pocket. But where are they spending that now? Okay, well, they're probably spending it on Obamacare, or they're probably spending it on food, or the fact that beef has risen to epic highs. So what does that do? Well, that might get more people to, you have less investment in oil wells and more investment in ranching.
Beef wells. Yeah.
I mean, those things, I know that people don't like it because it affects them, but, it just happens. I mean, when somebody's losing, somebody's winning. And, I think that, the people that, have sour grapes about the low price in oil, there's other people that have sour grapes when it's too high. There's always going to be somebody that's somehow profiting off of that, and there's always going to be somebody that's paying the price.
No, that's a very true statement. I think the big difference is when you're seeing any kind of economic stimulus that is because of the low cost of oil, the low cost of fuel. It's not going to create. It might create jobs, but it's not going to create the kind of jobs that have been lost in the energy sector. I mean, you just can't do that with creating service sector jobs.
You're not going to have. You're only going to
have
a
$100,000 truck driver job made. That he lost his job in the oil patch. So you're going to have 10 McDonald's jobs created to equal that one job.
Well, but not just that. I think that there's plenty of other, examples. But if you're making $100,000 to drive a truck around, then you're just riding a boom. There's in my profession, I got into data and internet or Ethernet cabling, and even coaxial and all the stuff that was real popular back when we had token ring and blah blah blah. So anyway, not to bore the hell out of everybody, but you could make upwards of $50. We were making $300 per pole just running a wire, literally 150 feet, and we would wire up buildings for IBM, and make cash hand over hand. Upwards of easily $100 an hour. Good money. This is in the late 90s, early 2000s, making that kind of money. And then everybody and their mom figured out that it's really easy to punch down cables, and you could teach anybody to do it. And you had a huge market correction, and people that were living high on the hog, because back in the day we called it PFM. That's pure fucking magic. Nobody knew how dial tone worked, and we had PFM on our side, and it just wasn't popular yet. You were on that niche. You were making that money. You're that $100,000 truck driver. That lasted about 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a buddy that got into emus. Remember when they deregulated the emus and the other what was it, the boar goat? What the hell? There was a goat that did, or one of the sheep.
Not sure, but I remember the emu for sure. There's a few emu ranches up here.
Dude, yeah, I had a buddy that was selling emu eggs for $1,500 a piece, and then
God,
then people would just set them free. It was only a matter of a few years. And my father-in-law, he had a bunch of them that had just come up out of nowhere, and we would eat the emu eggs, and they're not bad. They're big.
Have you tried the emu meat?
No, we never ate the meat, man. They didn't look like it'd be great.
Delicious.
I haven't. I mean, not that I'm opposed to it, just didn't.
Yeah.
But my point is that there's things that are booms and busts, and you ride the wave, and the trick is to know when when to get off of that wave and get onto another one.
Yeah, well, there's no arguing that. I mean, there's going to definitely be evidence of a wave when you have. I'm trying to remember Williston, North Dakota. McDonald's is a year ago this time, if I'm not mistaken, $19 an hour.
Yeah.
To work at McDonald's. I mean,
it's a good gig.
Yeah, it's a good gig as long as it lasts, and it isn't lasting. It's $40-$50 barrel. It can't last. It can't be profitable. What concerns me from a personal standpoint is Canada. I mean, Canada was. I'll be up there again within a month, a couple times probably, but their business, their business was literally booming from BC to Alberta to Saskatchewan in the western half. And it is now just like somebody, Fred Flintstone braked the car, feet to the ground.
People will start selling pot. They'll start growing pot. They'll do something else. It's okay. I don't worry about it. I mean, really, I'm not a huge... And I live in Texas, and oil money definitely is key, and it is the one thing that's driving people to come here en masse, and that is why it's driving the price of housing to ridiculous levels here. Sure. And that's why it is outpricing...
you and I are both better served. You and I are both better served, what we do for a day job, to have higher oil prices than we do now. It is better for us.
Not for me. I mean, if that drive was down, then the amount that I pay for electricity, the amount that I pay for my home, taxes, everything else would go down as well. But it's because of high demand. Because
predicated on
oil, no
expansion,
no.
I mean, as far as building expansion, and
no.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, and that's the problem, is that we have an economy built around metastasizing and never saying, hey, you know what, this is big enough. We've already exploited enough land. We've already sucked enough oil. What
do you do all day then? Well, I mean, you can only install a server or lines for it once, and you're done. I mean, what are you doing?
My friend,
or what?
Yeah, every day, man. Everything breaks, and everything that the cheaper they make it in China, the better for me, because it breaks more. Used to be,
you're just basically maintaining things you've
I'll give you an
installed.
example. You could buy an $800 amplifier, an audio amplifier that would run a whole warehouse, right? And you could probably pump, 1,000 speakers on this thing. They probably you buy it once, and it would, 20 years. You probably wouldn't have a problem with it, and that was the idea. Everything needed to last 20 years. That's the length of a bond, or that's the length of just about any contract, especially for the government. They want 20-year turnaround. What's the lifespan on that? Maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. So everything, even though it's cheaper, it requires more and more service. You might even have a great warranty, but somebody, that service warranty is going to wear out, and you're going to have to call somebody else out there. So a perfect example, you go to smart meter. You're going to have to replace those things because, mechanical meter, it's just going to keep going indefinitely. Some smart meter, that thing is made in China for next to nothing. And the people that want to make the money, the salesmen, the quick turnaround, the people that are scamming your utility district into this, trying to tell them that, look, you're going to save all this money, you're going to axe all these employees. There's a cost. Then they say, oh shit, man, these things break every damn day, man. These things suck. We have to keep up with them. So what I think that we have, and this is what is advantageous to me, ironically, is because of short-term thinking and short-term profits and short-term turnaround. The long-term cost is much higher, and the long-term service of equipment, because it's value engineered, I love that term, value engineered, is much less. So you see me much more.
So what are you replacing? You put in the piece of crap to begin with 2 years ago, and now you got to replace it. So do you just ask them, do you want good, better, best for your replacement?
Well, I mean, there's certain things that'll work, certain things that won't. Yeah, I guess you do good, better, best. You could do that. I mean, it depends on what you're selling too. If you're an authorized dealer for some product,
I got to get down there sometime, and we can sit and BS. And
but the point is that as we move to a robotic society, right? As we move towards the technocracy,
robots now.
Yeah, the robots. Once they start, the $20 kit at McDonald's is going to be too much. So some other machine can replace you or most of what you do. Then you replace that person. Big deal. Minimum wage worker, probably not going to be able to ever move beyond that anyway in that capacity. So, I'm not to say that our listeners that work at McDonald's are worthless, but they're looking at innovative ways to get rid of you. But in that, you have machines, you have robots, you have something that is going to replace that, and they're only going to work for a certain amount of time, period, and they're going to need replacement. So things shift. If you're in a service business like I am, where you repair electronic equipment, as it gets cheaper, as everything, I mean, it used to be people would, here's an example. They would keep server rooms like at 68 degrees. Now, because
Right.
they don't want to pay that price every month in electricity, you turn that up to 84, 85.
And then it burns the equipment out, right?
Burns the equipment out. But it's when companies, especially, this is how myopic it becomes. When they're making those decisions, they're not always looking at the maintenance cost at the time. They're looking at the initial budget and what they have and what they want to produce or what they want to see for this quarter. And so it's very myopic. That's how
they're saving the electric bill on and this quarter will look great. They'll worry about the massive repair in Q2 of next year, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's not that they're making a budget now. They're making a decision based on what they're looking at.
How can I look good at the next board meeting, the next quarterly meeting?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those people have short-term vision because they know that their job depends on them being able to, get their investors profits.
Oh, and their wallet. I mean, most companies, if you're on an incentive pay scale, if that's part of your salary package, that's quarterly. So that turning up the heat in the computer room that saves $100,000 in the next 3 months, or puts that back on the bottom line, is putting money in his pocket. So I mean, you could see the rationale for saying, well, we'll budget in a repair next year and let's make the money this year.
Oh yeah. There's always somebody out there, because here's the thing. They're saying, well, look at all the money that I save by you hiring me, and I have this special degree from the government that says that I know how to reduce costs, and because we're doing this, it's green, and we're getting some tax incentive, something that completely perverts the whole economy and the whole situation. Let's put the smart car, environmentally small vehicle parking at the front, then we get a tax incentive on the back end, or maybe a free grant from the government to do this. So the things that make the most sense, and you're like, what? Why are they doing all this? It's because they're doing things that aren't really necessarily the best or most effective, or even make sense for the people that will be there. Like putting 100 handicap spots in front of your business that doesn't have but 4 employees. You see these things. It's a distortion in reality, and there's a lot of profit to be made off of that. And so I get frustrated because I'm like, this makes no sense. But if you really understand why they make the decisions, that they are, it's because just like your buddies that are making money off the government contract, it's more advantageous to them to build a bunch of stupid stuff that doesn't help them than to not take those tax incentives and to take those free government bennies. And you're like, okay, well, we've built a lot of handicap spaces. We've built a lot of parking that's not going to be used by anyone, but we're green, and it feels good. And you can plug in your smart car, even though you might not have one, there at some charging station. I see this. That is why I am just such a pessimist about the government being able to change things for the better, because I see how everybody games these systems, and how that even if something seems genuine and it seems like a real concern, it completely gets distorted.
I agree with that 100%. You got to go.
All right, Charlie McGrath, we got to get out of here, man. Thanks so much for freaking.
I was just looking at the clock here, and you're still doing your Sunday night gig, right?
Sunday night gig. You still doing the rents thing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously February I was home for 5 days of the month.
Right.
So but I'm back now. So it'll be all systems go. We can't do Sunday next week. It has to be Wednesday or Thursday, Doug. What do you think?
We'll make it one of those days. We'll figure it out. Guys, thank you so much for being part of Doomcast, and until next week, y'all rock it. Charlie, take us out.
Bye, y'all. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for supporting us. If you want to contact Doug at blacklistednews.com. You can contact me at info@wideawakenews.com. You can contact Craig. I don't know what Craig's email is.
Producer Craig 33. Yeah, thanks to Craig, as always.
What? Producer Craig 33 at Gmail?
Twitter.
Oh, it's Twitter.
Tweet to him.
Right.
Tweet to that man.
I butchered the outro.
It's okay, man. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.